पाकिस्तान में बाइनेंस की टीम की आमद क्या क्रिप्टो करेंसी पाकिस्तान के इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन को बेहतर कर सकती है? लेट अली शो यू के इस एपिसोड में आप सबको खुशामदेद। डू लाइक, सब्सक्राइब एंड शेयर दिस कंटेंट। अभी हमने देखा कि इंडिया के अंदर पुतिन साहब की आमद हुई कुछ दिन पहले। एक इंडिया और अमेरिका एक ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट फाइनलाइज करने की वजह से कोशिश कर रहे हैं। टैरिफ्स भी अमेरिका ने लगा दिए हैं, पाकिस्तान के ऊपर भी टैरिफ्स लगे हैं। इंडिया ने उन टैरिफ्स का शॉक अब्सॉर्ब कर लिया है। पाकिस्तान के अंदर जो टेक्सटाइल ज्यादातर जो एक्सपोर्ट होती है अमेरिका, टेक्सटाइल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स कह रहे हैं कि जी वी कांट ऑपरेट, हमारे पास ना बिजली है, ना हम ओवर टैक्स्ड हैं, और एक कैपिटल फ्लाइट तो हुई है पाकिस्तान से, साथ साथ एक ब्रेन ड्रेन भी हुआ है पाकिस्तान से। ऊपर चाइना वो भी किसी और तरफ देख रहा है, उसने भी बड़ा इन्वेस्ट किया सीपेक के अंदर फॉर एग्जांपल। मगर जिस तरह आपने मेंशन किया कि प्रोजेक्ट आते हैं, उनको फॉलो थ्रू नहीं होता, कंप्लीट नहीं होते, और देन यू मूव ऑन टू समथिंग एल्स एंड देन दैट कीप्स ऑन गोइंग एंड इट कीप्स ऑन स्पाइरलिंग ऑन। हाउ लॉन्ग, यानी कब तक ये चीज ऐसे चल सकती है? और ब्रेक डाउन तो मेरे ख्याल से हो चुका है, ऊपर से चीज को कंट्रोल मेंटेन करने की कोशिश की जा रही है, लेकिन कब तक? और वो कौन सा ऐसा एक लास्ट स्ट्रॉ होगा या ब्रेकिंग पॉइंट होगा जो ये जो तबाही अंदर छुपी हुई है अभी, उसको ऊपर लेके आ जाएगा? क्योंकि हम ये आप और मैं 3 साल से बात कर रहे हैं, हुसैन 2 साल से बात कर रहे हैं कि ये चीज होने वाली है, ये चीज हो गई है, ये इस तरह सस्टेनेबल नहीं है, मगर अभी तक ये उसी तरह चली जा रही है।
So देखिए, people underestimate, including myself as well, the capability, the capacity of the state to stand on one leg and then on one toe. It has a long ability because states are very hard infrastructures. They can they have the staying power for a very long time, but it unravels in very clear and systematic manner. And the unraveling in Balochistan that we've already seen is there. I don't think there is a single district in Balochistan that is under your state writ. None whatsoever. Large chunks of KP are not in your control. Large chunks of Sindh are not on your state writ anymore. Punjab is divided into pockets of political mafias and all of that way. They have, the mafias essentially have become the bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy have become the mafia and all of that. From any concept of the state, I don't think the state exists in the same way. So the state is already, and it has been going on for a very long time. And a lot of people say that, things are not going to happen. And it is the funniest thing to me and the most surprising thing as well, because, Pakistan is one of the very few states that actually collapsed once in 71. It has collapsed once. We have a precedent. We have a data point. We have the evidence of how it happened. Unfair economic development under General Ayub Khan, totally unfair economic development, clustered with political chaos, a very thick-headed army general who overtook General Ayub Khan for a prolonged period of time and marginalized certain communities, and boom, that was a chaos. The economic deprivation, the unfair advantages to a certain portions, the political chaos completely out of control, and then you have this boom factor. We had the best of the relations with the United States back in the days. Best of the relations. Nothing like what we've had ever since. Because, on same to same term with Kissinger and the Nixons and all of that. Yet, they never saved us. There was nothing. They never stopped anything happening from 71. So between 65 and 71, what happened is a very interesting years for Pakistan, because your economy was growing by about 8 to 10% in 65. And by 71, it was also growing about 9%, crashed. And I don't think Pakistan's economy has really recovered since 71, because, you lost half of your GDP. It's crazy what we did. So when I hear someone in Pakistan in 2025 talk about this fact that, nothing is going to happen, we're waiting, I say, what are you talking about? It already has happened once, and the other part is already underway in Balochistan. You can't, I as a Pakistani citizen from Punjab, I cannot just walk into Balochistan. There is no possibility of doing that, which already tells you that it's already a red zone. There are parts of tribal areas that I cannot go. That's already there. So what else? Like again, I said, if we zoom out from the English speaking F sectors in Islamabad, we'll start noticing that the Pakistan that you think of in a traditional way has already pretty much collapsed. It is not delivering. Yes, it can continue in the state of collapse for some time, maybe for a decade as well. But the unraveling, what you see in, the child abuses, the Qasur cases, and these are all the symptoms. These are not disconnected things. These are all the symptoms of the same freaking problem that the state has practically collapsed. It is unable to deliver justice. And then after that, what you're talking about is the kaboom, when actually is gonna boom. That happens. Uh, it could happen in many ways. It could happen with another round with India. It could happen through that. It could happen with, the America, getting angry over for something that they feel that, oh, you didn't deliver us on this part. So we're going to pull back our, support from you, because you're literally right now under the current regime, at least, is entirely, you know, entirely dependent on a single tweet from the US president. I mean, a single tweet that comes in that, I'm not happy with it will collapse the regime. It's that sensitive. And this is where one of the points that I try to make is that, the military dictatorships, this centralization of power may appear strong on the surface, on the paper. In reality, they're the weakest form of governance model. Because what you've done now is you have consolidated entire power, the beautiful distribution of power in a state and a society, from Navy, Air Force, Army, the regimented and all of that, the bureaucracy, the FCs and all, you've consolidated them and turned it into one individual. When you have one individual centralized power, the entire system can collapse like this. And I think Pakistan has never been in a more fragile situation, because distributed systems are very hard to attack. Even when you talk about the cyber attacks, the distributed systems are very hard to crack. The easiest thing to hack is a centralized system. You just come in, you hack it, and you erupt it. Same goes with the centralized power structures, like the dictatorship. And if you look at it, Bangladesh happened right after the tip tail end of a dictatorship, despite all the economic achievements. Balochistan happened. Sorry, KP. The trouble in KP border regions happened right at the tail end of the Zia's dictatorship. The entire region being militarized and God knows what. We're still suffering from that. The war has been going on. Balochistan also happened because of General Musharraf's ability to completely go in and rain havoc over there. So the dictatorships always the inherent design that they have will eventually lead a country to a rupture. Now my fear with this one, the current one is, uh, it is more centralized than any previous dictatorships. It is more centralized. Two, the quality of the dictatorship this time around is also way poor than what was in the Musharraf era, or what was. I mean, just look at the technocrats in the dictatorships. Under the Musharraf era, who was the technocrats? Under Zia's time, the technocrats. Under Ayub Khan's time, and you will notice that under the technocrats within those governments were some of the best in the world, by the way. Under Ayub Khan and all of that, some of the best minds have worked. Moin Qureishis and these people who worked at that time. Uh, right now, the technocrats, I don't want to name anyone, it's just, I mean, you have influencers, practically influencers, who are running as technocrats in the government. So you tell where the quality is. And the third part is, the the overall environment of the country has changed. The appetite for the military is very low now. The public approval of the military is low. Back in the days, Ayub, even Zia and all, the approval rate was still very much intact, despite the Bangladesh thing happened. Right now, the approval rate is at the lowest. My worry is, and I putting this on record in your show, I do predictions and I do forecasts, and we look at hundreds of variables of things that are happening, and we run correlations. If ABC happens, will XYZ happen or not? If DFG is happening, will RQ and S is going to happen or not? That is what our bread and butter is. The variables that are aligned over here. In my opinion, it is, to me, that's the worst position Pakistan has ever been. It's more problematic than what Bangladesh was, by the way. When I look at and run the data from that period, and I look at the data from right now, I think the data is worse right now. At this moment, there is it all it needs is a trigger now. It really just needs a trigger. It could be any form. Could be Imran Khan getting killed through, he could probably be in jail and have pneumonia or something. He could have stomach issue and he would die. But if anything happens to him inside the prison or when he comes out, nobody's going to buy that it was a natural thing. So that could be a trigger point. I mean, when we do the assessments, we also give the trigger point. So Imran Khan, in my opinion, is a big trigger point. The other trigger point is with India. What is going to happen with India? You and India are on a pause right now if that thing happens. The third trigger point is Pakistan getting itself, deeply involved in the Middle Eastern politics, the Gaza front and all of that. That could backfire in a way that you will not be able to sustain. The fourth trigger point is how far will you go on with the Afghanistan, the bordering issues. That could really be a trigger point. So these are 4 5 different clusters, and then the last trigger point is the economy itself, because the economy is not going to be running on vibes. So you don't have any economic plan, you don't have any sustainable plan, and all of that. So any of these could become a trigger, or there could be another one which I haven't thought about. So if any of these happens, the system might fold, completely fold. Or let's say, if not Imran Khan, let's say something happens to General Asim Munir. Let's say something goes wrong with him. Because he centralized the entire power system and folded the entire power structure onto himself, he might get removed or he might just not be there. He's taken out of the situation. The system is now all jumbled up. And the whole problem we used to discuss when we were in the government side was, how do you make sure that this centralization of power within the army chief office, that has become so important and big that the stakes have gone so high. The whole point was to decentralize it. We were also thinking current of like going with the model of commanders of CENTCOM and all of that. So decentralizing the army chief power. Instead, what these guys ended up doing is the exact opposite. They elevated the position and turned a CDS. Now every single individual in the system has bigger stakes and a bigger fish to fry. So there is going to be more politics, more stakes, more dirt. It's going to become an institutional mess. So if something happens to Asim Munir, the war inside the system itself will be damning, and it's a very dangerous situation where unfortunately uh, the recklessness of those in power have brought the country.
पाकिस्तान को तो नहीं पता, मगर डकी भाई तो डेफिनेटली अगर कुछ हो गया फील्ड मार्शल आसिम मुनीर को, हिज बिग ब्रदर, वो भी अपना वीडियो उनकी रिलीज हुई है, ये अपना डकी भाई की, कि उनको उनके साथ जो ज्यादती हुई, एफआईए उनको उठा के लेके गया, उनको थप्पड़ पड़ी मारे, एक कोई एफआईए का ऑफिसर है सरफराज चौधरी करके, एंड हिज बिग ब्रदर केम टू रेस्क्यू हिम. तो यू आर राइट इन द सेंस के फ्रॉम द हाईएस्ट ऑफिस, चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस फोर्सेस, टू द इकोनॉमी, एसआईएफसी, टू इवन डकी भाई जो एक यूट्यूब के अंदर एक इन्फ्लुएंसर हैं और सेलिब्रिटी भी हैं एक यूट्यूब के, सबके अंदर फील्ड मार्शल की मुदाखलत है. बड़ा मुख्तसर से फील्ड मार्शल के ऊपर हम बात करते हैं कि वो अभी गए थे अमेरिका, उन्होंने वहां बहुत सारी चीजें ऑफर भी की. अमेरिका के अंदर एक इंडस्ट्रियल नेटिविज्म, आप इसे कहेंगे, आ गया है. वो अब सब चीजें, इंडस्ट्री वापस मूव करना चाह रहे हैं, एक फोर्ट्रेस क्रिएट करना चाह रहे हैं टैरिफ्स के जरिए, और इंसेंटिवाइज कर रहे हैं उन इंडस्ट्रीज को जो वापस मूव करती हैं, जिसके अंदर चिप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग भी है, ऑटो इंडस्ट्री भी है, स्टील प्रोडक्शन भी है, और बेसिकली क्या करती हैं, डीमोनेटाइज या करती हैं उन इंडस्ट्रीज को जो अभी भी बाहर रह रही हैं. इस इंडस्ट्रियल नेटिविज्म के अंदर अब थोड़ा हम जरा पाकिस्तान से हटते हैं, एंड फाइनली हाउ डू यू सी दिस प्लेइंग आउट? अमेरिका भी है, चाइना भी है, एक रश फॉर रिसोर्सेज भी है, ऊपर से आपकी अपनी इंडस्ट्री, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, उसका भी एक बबल आप कह लें, अगर कहना चाह रहे हैं ऐसे, वो भी मौजूद है. सो हाउ आर ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स कन्वर्जिंग, हुसैन?
Yeah, there is no one answer for this thing actually. Reason because one, this is all very new. The AI war, the critical minerals, the trade wars, the tariff wars, everything is very new, and it is a very individual oriented over here. It's led by President Trump and his core team at the moment. The question is it sustainable or not? is this going to last beyond this specific tenure? Will any new Democrat as a president, will he roll back? Will any new Republican president roll back? And the chances are almost all 100% on that. There are going to be some major rollbacks on many things. What's happening in Europe, for instance, no Democrat is going to be, sticking to that. They're not going to be going with that. The openness, the way this current government has opened its doors for, it's not made too many Democratic people around the world happy, but it's certainly made a lot of authoritarian governments and dictatorships very happy. So there is going to be massive level of changes over there. So in my opinion, what is happening right now, some portions of it will stick. A lot of other portions will actually not be there because the pendulum has swung this side way too much. So any new individuals that will come in, which they surely will, is going to likely it's going to be very hard to believe that the Democrats are going to mess up the 2028. They have all the abilities to do that. uh, but I think even if there is a new Republican president, there will be changes in terms of how things are done. If you look at the new national security strategy, the language on China is very soft in many ways. Uh, the language on Europe is essentially very harsh. They've basically told Europe that you need to be civilized again. You've gone so far off. Russia is not even discussed. Russia, Democrats' entire bread and butter was Russia. They've not even discussed that as a national security strategy. In Middle East, they've said, we want to retain American influence. That's it. Nothing else. American influence. Countries like Pakistan, South Asia, Afghanistan not discussed at all. So they're on the fringes. I think they've talked about technology and all of these as main interest. Bringing America back. The focus is a lot on Western Hemisphere, the classic Monroe Doctrine with now Trump corollary. So I think those issues are gonna be changed. Fundamentals are gonna go different over here as well. Some portions of it would retain, but I think if you since you're asking about the future of how this is gonna play out, I don't think a lot of these things. I mean, I was talking about to some of our clients about this thing as well. Trump going after 150% on China is not sustainable. The Americans need Chinese a lot more than the Chinese need the Americans at the moment. So China has a strong leverage, but the China is playing it their card smart because they know that Trump wants to move fast, wants to hammer. He's here for a short-term win. That's how the American political system works. The first 90 days, the first year, the first term, and all these guys, the Chinese, are thinking 50 years and 100 years. So, yeah, they have a lot of room and muscle to slow things down, play the long game. Even Putin has kind of understood that, where he's not entirely giving in. Because he knows, he can play the long game. How long can the Americans sustain? So I think the one thing that the U.S. security strategy document also reveals is the emergence of the multipolarity. I think they've already kind of hinted towards that, and we're going to be witnessing around that. So if Trump with whole strategies and all of that, I think he's going to roll back himself by the end of this term or way sooner. So on many of these things, like on China, on India, and all of that, you're going to see a very different positions. And two, any new successor, for instance, in the case of India, he's hammered India pretty badly. Any new US president, be it a Democrat or be a Republican, are going to try to double down on appeasing India, which again I'm predicting is not going to make Pakistan very happy because the way to appease India is going to be, oh, so these guys were the problem. Okay, let us sort them out. It looks like a bad period because we've seen that happening before as well. So it's not the first time. It happened under Obama's. It happened under Biden as well. So it's bound to happen. It's a natural flow of Pakistan, US, and India relations.
डॉक्टर हुसैन नदीम, जब भी हम बात करते हैं हुसैन, एक अपोकलिप्टिक यानी कंक्लूजन पे पहुंचते हैं, बट आई गेस मल्टीपोलैरिटी इजंट दैट स्कैरी फॉर मैनी पीपल. उसके अंदर अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी आ सकती हैं, मगर शायद पाकिस्तान के लिए वो अपॉर्चुनिटीज ना आए, क्योंकि इस मौजूदा निज़ाम ने अपने आप को इतना करीब कर लिया है अमेरिका के, सब चीजें ऑफर करके, अपने आप को पेश करके, कि उन्होंने और कोई मनूवरिंग की गुंजाइश नहीं छोड़ी. और आई थिंक चाइना भी इसे बड़ा गहराई से नोटिस कर रहा होगा, राइट?
So I think one of the core problems that have come, and I'm talking about as an academic and part policy person now who spent quite a few years working with the American diplomats and the Chinese diplomats, the Saudis, is the fact that I think the challenge, especially the Saudis have had with Pakistan and the Americans as well, and then later, more recently, the Chinese, is is the fact that they get frustrated with the Pakistani system. And their frustration is out of two reasons. One, they believe that nobody in the Pakistan's power structures and power systems talk straight. There is no straight talk. They will take you around the circles. And two, uh, now they also believe that the Pakistani system cannot provide us the guarantees anymore. So if they say that we can deliver on something, their capability on delivering them is very low. The Chinese started having this frustration with whole, the BLA hitting China where it hurts a lot, and the Pakistan government, especially when the PTI was there as well, there were certain very loose kind of policy conversations that happened, and unfortunate, uncoordinated kind of events that happened where one of the ministers of information, let me just name him, Fawad Chaudhry Saab, there was a bus attack in the northern areas, a terrorist attack on the Chinese, and Fawad Chaudhry tried to give it push it under the rug by saying, oh, it was an accident. The Chinese were furious. They had the information, they had the intel, and what they hated the most that we try to hide it. We do that with ourselves, by the way. When our forces are attacked and all, we lie about it. The Chinese were not very happy, and they have had those issues. The Americans have had a problem with our double gaming and all of that for a very long time, and I feel in a way because Pakistan kept presenting itself as someone that controls Taliban. The truth was Pakistan never controlled Taliban. It was a myth, and the myth was created ourselves because we wanted to have a seat on the table. So the Americans would come to us and they would ask, "Oh, so you think this are happening and that is happening, and is that what you're doing?" And I remember one of the officials used to say that we would just smile, and they would think that we're behind it. So they had a seat on the table because the Americans thought that Pakistan is using Taliban to get to us, and Pakistan was in a position where we were stuck in a place where denying it that we are not in control would mean that we would be completely out of the game. Accepting it was a better option that Americans would at least hate us, but they would still take us seriously. And that is what we did. I wrote this in my book, a full passage on that how we played that game, which came back to haunt us. It got us into sanctions, the FATFs, and all of that for very wrong reasons. But we did that game. And I think where the Saudis have come up is to a point where I think Saudis have been super frustrated with Pakistan, uh, because of Pakistan's political instability, very deeply political instability. That you know, one after the other, and then all the politics they get involved. The Saudis get involved in all. They don't really want to get involved. They don't want to be in that position. So it's awkward. I mean, Mohammed bin Salman personally liked Imran Khan, personally liked him. Now he's in a prison, and there is an army chief who's trying to, go and appease the MBS. It puts him into an awkward situation, and which is one of the reasons why they have not spent a single penny in Pakistan over the past 3 years. It's it's a way to show, not things are not all right. I mean, show the thing happened and all of that. It was already in play for years. We had multiple rounds with them and all. But even with the Americans, I mean, despite all the the vibes and the conversations, and we've really just had a great time with getting a picture taken with President Trump and him dissing India over 6, 7, 8 aeroplanes going down. There's not a single investment that has come, not a single serious one, at least. There is no. If anything, there's the other way is happening. The other way, we're buying more from them, the oil and all of that. So yeah, it's been a tricky situation, and I don't think the current regime or any regime for that matter, in my opinion, I think all of them lack the imagination on how to have a real conversation with the United States, with the China, and with the Saudis in a changing in a changing world. We have a lot to offer, by the way. It's not that we don't have a lot to offer. It's just that the people in the leadership across all parties, have no clue how to actually go about doing that.
We started this conversation with crypto and the arrival of a Binance team और बिलाल बिन साकिब आपने जिक्र किया FATF का IMF का ये भी इतलात आ रही हैं कि अगर पाकिस्तान क्रिप्टो काउंसिल और इन सब चीज़ों के अंदर घुसता है तो शायद IMF को उससे कुछ खदशात हों और शायद FATF दोबारा अपनी कार्रवाई शुरू कर दे क्योंकि एज वी नो क्रिप्टो के साथ एक स्टिग्मा भी अटैच्ड है इलिसिट एक्टिविटीज का और ये सब चीजें तो उसके ऊपर वेरी क्विकली व्हाट डू यू मेक ऑफ दैट एक चीज और दूसरी चीज आप अमेरिका में बैठे हुए हैं अमेरिका के अंदर एक पाकिस्तानी डायस्पोरा ही मौजूद है वो भी बहुत कोशिश कर रहा है पिछले साल से ज्यादा 1.5-2 साल होने को आ रहे हैं कि किसी तरीके से पाकिस्तान के अंदर जो ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेशंस हैं निजाम को या सिस्टम को दोबारा रेगुलेट किया जाए करेक्ट किया जाए और ये सब कुछ जो हो रहा है इसको खत्म किया जाए मगर दे हैवंट अचीव्ड व्हाट दे वांटेड इनफैक्ट ट्रंप ने तो फील्ड मार्शल को लंचन पे ही बुला के उनको अपना फेवरेट फील्ड मार्शल डिक्लेयर किया मगर पिछले कुछ महीनों से वो भी खामोश पड़े हुए हैं वेरी क्विकली ऑन बोथ दीज थिंग्स हुसैन
So first thing is, the crypto part. Uh, देखिए, the best of the policies, the best of the tools can be manipulated and abused for very wrong reasons. Crypto is a very powerful, potent tool for change. It's entirely in the hands of who controls it. When you have a regime like this, which has stolen the elections, which does not believe in human rights, which does not believe in public prosperity, which has a track record of capital flights, money laundering, and all, that regime finding interest in crypto. I remember there was a meeting where, the CZ, the Binance founder, was having a meeting with Nawaz Sharif. That was the most shocking thing for me, because why would someone like Nawaz Sharif, who would not know the ABC of the crypto, be meeting CZ? Then you have the army chief meeting CZ, which is again the most strangest combination. I don't see the technology people, the tech experts, the industry, Binance having meetings with Pakistan's crypto people and all. None. They're going and meeting the army chiefs and all. So, which tells me one thing, that the entire Pakistani crypto and all of that is not going to benefit the people. It's going to benefit a very small set of the people that want to essentially take the money out of the country, speed access, diversify, make money here, throw it somewhere else. It's definitely going to empower those ones. And I think IMF has already given out a statement on this already, that they have very serious concerns over the crypto, as they should be for a country like Pakistan. Uh, and the second part is, you're talking about the Pakistani diaspora. I didn't get the question in that, by the way. What was the question in the diaspora part?
they tried the Pakistani diaspora tried very hard to curry favor with Trump उनके
Yeah,
आने से पहले भी बड़ी कोशिशें की कि जी
yeah.
उनको इंटिमेट किया जाए और किसी तरीके से पुश किया जाए पाकिस्तान डेमोक्रेसी एक्ट की बातें हो रही थी बड़ी खतो खिताबत भी हुई जैक बर्मन पाकिस्तान कॉकस भी उधर गई पाक पैक का भी था एक ये अपना हाल ही के अंदर वॉशिंगटन के अंदर भी जॉर्ज टाउन यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर भी एक गैदरिंग हुई वो भी कंट्रोवर्शियल हो गई तो क्या पहली तो कि पाकिस्तानी कम्युनिटी जो डायस्पोरा है डिड इट फेल इफ इट डिडंट व्हाई नॉट इफ इट डिड व्हाई डिड इट और क्या डिड द पाकिस्तानी regime led by फील्ड मार्शल आसिम मुनीर फेल कि इतना पैसा allegedly खर्च करने के बाद लॉबिंग एफर्ट्स के ऊपर टू गेट टू ट्रम्प टू गेट दैट लंचन उसका भी क्या कुछ बना के नहीं बना आपकी क्या खबरें हैं उसके ऊपर
So, देखिए, when you talk about, the phases of war. What we're in Pakistan now, we're in I call it a second war of independence for Pakistan. The first round was 1947, where you got a piece of land. What Pakistan is now going through is actually the freedom of people now. So people never got the freedom. It was the super elite that got the freedom, and we got the land. The What we're going through right now is the second war of independence for the Pakistan, and there is no winning and losing in this while the war is happening. It's a long, protracted warfare. It goes on till you have comprehensively defeated the other side. I see it as that. So, Diaspora never lost anything. A lot of these guys in Diaspora, they get demoralized. Oh, we did so much and it didn't work out. So what do we do? And I'm like, if you were doing this because you thought you would win, you were coming from a very different angle. This is going to be a very, you're not just fighting a mafia or an institution that was set up in 1947. This is a colonial institution that was set up in 1857, actually. So you better know who you're fighting. It's a 200 years of history. So in that sense, it doesn't go away with one Pakistan Democracy Act, especially when the people over here are also very much beneficiaries of the authoritarian system over there. So in my opinion, the failure only happens when you will give up in this situation. But I think the diaspora has been, after initial few hits, it has been able to regather itself, repush itself. There was a brief period of few months when everybody was down and depressed after Trump just went on a completely different tangent. I think that diaspora did everything right to get the Trump's attention, every single thing. But when the institutional interests of the U.S. president kicks in, they have completely different options on the table, and they really don't care about a lot of other stuff. So I think the diaspora got a hit over that. That's fine. They changed the strategy. Now they're thinking about other things that you start seeing. I can't talk much about that, but there are other events that are happening, and you start seeing them coming in with more aggressiveness. So I think that despite the fact that diaspora got divided, somebody saying that, I think all of them are united in the purpose that Imran Khan should be freed. This regime is illegitimate, and the country needs to be in a better position than what it is. So there is a unity in that, but they're all trying to do it in their own different ways, which is completely fine in my opinion. As far as the regime's success goes, sure, you have to give it to them. They've been very successful. Because if their idea of success is that I want to remain one more day in power, that I want to not be booted out by President Trump's tweet, they've been very successful. But for a country of 250 million people, if the leadership and the army and everyone, their success barometer is that we get a picture taken with Trump, it is, they've already lost. Because that is not what the barometer of success is supposed to be for you. Your barometer of success should be, are we the fifth largest economy in the world or not? Are we the most innovative economy or not? You are the worst passport right now. In terms of the corruption, you are right off the roofs. All the indexes on Pakistan, by the way, because our AI model takes in all the different 150 indexes, you are literally in the bottom 1%, right next to Burkina Faso, right next to Nigeria, right next to, in every single metric. So, exactly what success are we talking about over here? You can say, my success is I woke up today. Good, that's great for you. But is that really a success? That's debatable.
But we are succeeding in making apparently very convincing AI slops और AI deep fakes. अभी हाल ही के अंदर याल्दा हकीम के साथ अलीमा खान का एक इंटरव्यू था, उसको बहुत मैनिपुलेट किया गया, and people couldn't believe कि ये fake हो सकता है, but it turned out to be fake and it became a big controversy. This is right up your alley. I'll give you the last word on this, and that's it.
Look, I've always said this thing about this because I had a very prominent role in the government on this part, on AI, and these kind of the different tools. And I say this thing, look, despite what Pakistani mainstream media and journalists think, the digital media and the social media is a very smart place now. The user has evolved. The user is smart now. The user can detect the bullshit. By the time these guys are becoming handy with AI tools, which was like so last year, by the way, this deep fakes, this was last year's stuff. Now, by the time they're getting to do it, they get exposed in minutes. So, what a shameful thing that, Sky News covered that the defense minister of Pakistan used an AI video to basically make a point. Now that is the news. You're getting exposed by your own. So in a very funny way, and I've always said this thing that the biggest producer of fake news and disinformation is the government itself. They fudge the economic numbers, they fudge the political numbers, they fudge the elections, they fudge every single thing. They're the greatest producers. Now, the beautiful part is they're also the greatest consumer of fake news. So, one arm of the state is producing a fake news. The other part of the arm of the state is consuming that and saying, "Oh my God, look at this!" And in the middle of it all, they get discredited to a point where it's unfortunate what this guy, this individual, the current defense minister, has turned the office of the defense minister into. He's an official troll account. That is what his job is. And that just tells you where the civilians have now the space. The only space that they have to operate is, we're going to use it as a troll army. That is it. You do this job well, and that is it. As far as, the war is concerned and all of that, even in the May war and all of that, when, Khwaja Asim was very active, I was like, I can pretty much put my career on the stake to tell you that this guy was probably not even in the decision making room. He was probably nowhere in the decision making room when the war event was happening. So yeah, these are all the signs of a state collapse. I mean, I don't have anything better to say. A lot of people criticize me, some people on this, that I've gone bitter and all of that. I'm not gone bitter. The only fact is that the more distance you have from the Pakistani scene, the better you're able to see the different parts and pieces moving over there. Because when you're in the system, you get proximity error over there. But once you zoom out, you start seeing that all the things that are moving are all the signs of a collapsed state at the moment. Now, there are ways to recover this. It's not like you cannot recover this, but those ways, there is not a sign or a signal at the moment that there is an attempt by this regime to pursue any of that. If anything, every single policy step, be it SIFC, be it the cryptos, be it this, all are such juvenile approaches to solving a problem that you don't have to be. Somebody told me, somebody called me a fortune teller on Twitter recently, and I was like, no, I'm not a fortune teller. You just don't have to be stupid, because what is happening is common sense that this is not going to work. What else do you need to figure it out? But it is what it is now, and I think this is not going to be sustainable.
वो कहते थे ना 1980s के अंदर Scarface movie came out, don't get high on your own supply. So they're getting high on their own supply of propaganda, and it would, I don't know if it will make Pakistan great again or Pakistan proud, but it would definitely make George Orwell extremely proud if he was alive. Dr. Hussain Nadeem, thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining us and enlightening us with so many things. I hope कि आप हमें दोबारा भी join करेंगे. I know it's been a while and I know you're busy, but we always appreciate your insights.
my pleasure to be here, Ali. Thank you so
ठीक है.
much. Bye.
What do you guys think? बताएं comment section के अंदर. Do like, subscribe and share this content. थोड़ी देर बाद दोबारा हाजिर होऊंगा अपडेट के साथ. तब तक के लिए अल्लाह